Okay, so what does soldering wire, a couple of straws, a skewer, and a pill bottle have in common? Let's check it out. Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Beaver DIY day. For those that are wondering, probably by the time this video goes up, we would have announced the winners of the competition. If you're wondering how the competition was or the winners were picked, it was a lucky draw. I put all the names on a list, put a specific number next to them, and then I took a random number generator and it kicked out a number, and the number that corresponded to the name, that is the winner. Okay, cool. So if you want to know if you're one of the winners, check over on the previous video. I would have linked the names of the winners in the comment section, and I would have pinned that comment. I would have also announced it on Facebook and Instagram. So head over there, check it out, and yeah, best of luck to everybody, or best of luck to everybody before. I don't know. Cool, great. Okay, so let's get into what we are making today here on the channel. So I've had quite a few requests for making these two little babies at home. Okay, so number one, and very important, the method I'll be showing you is not as accurate as the ones that I have in my hand right here. Okay, first off. But will they help in a pinch? Yes, they will. If you accidentally break these, if you have them, then you can check with the ones that I'm going to be showing you. If you don't have these, then yes, you can use them to get a rough estimate of the result that you're going to be making. You won't be as accurate as these. So no, it does not replace these. These are an investment, and if you need them, please go ahead and buy them. Okay, quick overview of what they do. This is a hydrometer. So they call it a triple scale hydrometer. One side measures bricks, the other side tells you what percentage of alcohol you can expect, and then the other final side is probably the most common measurement, is your gravity readings. It goes from 990 all the way to 1.120, and that will tell you how much dissolvable materials have been added to the water or to your wash. In our case, we want to measure the amount of sugar dissolved to tell us what the ABV is. Okay, cool. This is an Alcometer. It starts at 0 and it runs all the way up to 100. It is not an exact scale, meaning it's not linear. So what happens is that from 0 to 10 is quite a jump, and then 10 to 20 is a small, and then it incrementally gets bigger as it gets to 100. Now, if you're wondering where this scale starts, this scale ends. So once you hit 0% alcohol on this, it should technically be water. So if you had a big one like this, you would be able to measure alcohol and water. Alcohol is less dense than water, so this will float higher in water and float lower in alcohol, telling you what the dissolved alcohol in the water is. Okay, this will float lower in the water and higher depending on how much you add into the water, how much sugar, and that will tell you your potential alcohol. Cool. So for those that are wondering where this scale ends, this scale begins. I went through a lot of experiments with different size cups and straws and wood and all the different things, and the material that I came across what that was the most accurate, okay, not accurate, the most accurate, was a 10 ml pill bottle. So here in South Africa, it's a little plastic bottle with a flip top, and it is to hold your tablets. Okay, you get it at the pharmacy and it holds your tablets, but it is 10 mils in volume. Okay, and then of course a straw. So any kind of store-bought straw. I will want the clear one so I can read the scales, and then I will be using a dowel stick to just stiffen this area where the scales will be, so it is a little bit more rigid. Okay, to give you the measurements of the exact scale, check in the description. but I did make a PDF printable copy. If you want a PDF printable copy of the gravity scale and the Alcometer scale, please hit me up on my email that will be at the bottom of the screen right now, and I will send you the PDF that needs to be printed on A4 sheet to be accurate to the scales that I have designed for this specific size of hydrometer or alcometer. Cool. So first things first, you need something that's going to weigh down and allow this to sit inside of the liquid and float. So here I have normal water. And I have my weight at the bottom, similar to these ones. They have a weight at the bottom that allows them to sit in the water. So that is what we effectively want to do. You want to float your alcometer or your hydrometer inside of the liquid. So what did I use to weigh it down? All I did is something that everybody that has built a still or has done any kind of work at home with copper will have a roll of solder. All I did is I took a strong pair of scissors or a pair of pliers and I nipped off the ends, making small little pieces. So I suggest you cut about a meter and a half piece of this into small little pieces, ranging from about 5 mils and down, and this will be used to weight it down. I won't suggest using nails or anything like that, that's quite tall. Did it with this one over here, and that made the little hydrometer sit skew in the water, as those nails didn't want to stand up perfectly straight, so they will lean to one side or the other. So keep all your pieces so when they fit into the little jar, when they lay flat, they don't angle onto the sides. Okay, so after you've cut a couple of them, picture up top here, you're going to start weighing down you're going to use these to weigh down your little tube. Okay, now can you use other things to weigh it down? Of course you can. If you have metal daisy bullets, they will work perfectly fine. If you have metal ball bearings, small metal ball bearings, they'll work perfectly fine. This is just what I have lying around the house that I can use to do this with. Okay, so yeah, anything that has a nice heavy weight to it and won't absorb a lot of water in case you accidentally get water into it is perfectly fine. Okay, cool. So next up, what we need to do is we need to cut out our scales. You can go ahead and color in your scales with whatever colors you feel that you want. If you want to color in where your range is for your brewer's yeast and your bread yeast and whatever, you can go ahead and do that. I'll just quickly cut out these and then move on to the next step. Okay, so now with our scales cut, what we're going to do next is get our straws ready. So I just went down to, or my wife went down to the garage and picked up a handful of clear straws. We will only be needing 2, but always get extras just in case you bugger up. So that's the next thing we're going to need. Scales are cut, straws are ready. Next we need 2 pill bottles, or those little jars. Once again, 10 mils in volume. Okay, get the ones that can seal with a nice click so they are nice and airtight. So 2 of those. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you will know that I prefer, when working with any type of plastic, to burn the holes and not to drill the holes. Plastic tends to want to break, so by burning them we are sure to not break it. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to heat up our screwdriver and we're going to burn a hole right into the center of the tin. repeat the step for the next one. Okay, so now with your holes in the top of your lids, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my knife and just trim those little excess pieces off, just so it's a nice smooth surface. Okay, so just trim the little burnt ends off, and you'll have 2 holes. Next up, what I'm going to do is where my dowel stick or my little skewer comes in. Once again, this is a normal meat skewer made from bamboo. All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 centimeter pieces of this, and they will be inserted into my pill bottle. That will make the connection between the pill and the straw nice and rigid, so they don't break. Okay, comes from experience after making a couple of these. The weak point is where the 2 parts meet. So tip, make sure that you use the little skewer or a toothpick or whatever you're going to use, just to strengthen that piece there where the straw attaches to the top of your little bottle. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot glue gun and put a dollop of glue around the outside edge, and then push it into the little hole, and then keep it in place, allowing about 1 centimeter to stick out over the top of our bottle. While your glue is still wet, ensure that you get it as straight as possible, because that's going to be the indicator for your straw. Okay, as your glue starts setting, wet your finger and just run it around, getting a nice smooth contact. And once again, make sure that your little piece of wood is nice and centered. Okay, so next up, what I want to do is I want to take my Alcometer, and I want to get the height of that and cut my straw to height. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap this around, put it over our dowel stick we have at the bottom there, and line up the top of that piece of paper or the bottom of that piece of paper with where the dowel stick ends. So I know when I push it in, that is going to be like my hard stopper. To ensure that the paper doesn't go any deeper. Okay, so let me just line that up quickly. Okay, so line it up with the bottom. See, there's the dowel ends there. That's where my paper is going to be my hard stop, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to snip about 1 centimeter over the top of the pipe, the scale. I'm going to snip off my straw. Cool. Repeat the process for the hydrometer scales. Okay, so now that we have our scales and our straws cut to length, what I'm going to do now is glue my straw into place over my little dowel. So same process as with the little skewer. What I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue on the bottom and then push it over the top, allowing it to stick into place, and try and get it as straight as possible. Okay, so with our straws now glued on, this one is for the hydrometer and the other one is for the Alcometer. All I need to do now is slide my scales in and then glue the tops shut. What you saw me do is add a little bit of glue to the bottom of the straw with the glue gun. If you don't have a glue gun, all you need to do is just take a glue stick and heat it up with a blowtorch or a lighter. That will work fine. So all I did is just added a little bit of glue to the bottom of this to ensure that there is a seal. So to ensure that there's a seal and no water can go in where your scales are. Remember, your scales are made out of paper, and if they come in contact with water, they will be ruined. So yeah, with both of those now ready to go and get our scales into it, let's do that. So we'll start with our hydrometer scales. All I do is I take exactly the same skewer that I did cut out of, and I will just roll it around the skewer. By rolling it around the skewer and folding one end over the other end, I can get it to size where it will fit into the straw. Okay, so once you have it like that, all you do is you take your skewer and you just push it down so it butts up against the bottom of that skewer tip there, and you have that little bit of clearance on top. So all we do now is we're going to seal the top part with the glue. If you have some cold water handy, dunk it into the water. This will allow the glue to set relatively quickly. And there we go. Hopefully it is now sealed up and no water will be able to enter in there. If you don't have a glue stick, you can use wax from a candle. I had a candle here somewhere. Must have lost it. There we go. You can use wax from a candle to drip into the top and seal the top off. But I would suggest using a glue stick. Okay, so there is our hydrometer ready. We're almost going to calibrate it. Let's quickly do our alcometer. Same process as before. Just push your scales down into there, getting it to butt up against the bottom there, and seal the top. Okay, so with the majority of the glue gun work now done, all we need to do now is get these all calibrated up. And what I do, just to prevent any air bubbles from forming when I put it into my liquid, is I remove this little burr or this little cap at the bottom of the bottle. And once it's done, all I do is I remove the tab and the swing top. But you're going to need those for the calibration. Okay, so now we need to calibrate these, and like I said previously, the one scale ends where the other scale begins. So let's begin by getting our hydrometer calibrated. So what you're going to do is you're going to take normal tap water, try and get it at room temperature, close to about 20 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to add a little bit of our weight medium, so which is our cut soldering wire. We're going to add it to the bottom of this little cup. All we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit. Okay, shake it up and get it all nice and compacted into the bottom. You don't want it to lean to one side or the other side, and then drop it into your water. Okay, as we can see, it's still sitting pretty proud, but it is standing up straight, and we don't have it tilting or leaning to either side. So let's do a little bit more weight. Okay, so let's see how deep this one goes in. Remember, don't let go of the straw at the top. Just allow it to go into the water. And like I said, remember, don't let go of the straw, because if you have too much weight, that will happen. Okay, so now it's a fun process of getting that out. And we'll also see if my seals worked out and it's not full of liquid. Everything still looks pretty dry, so at least that test worked. So the big trick here is just add weight incrementally. Don't go too much like I just did, try and rush the process. Add weight nice and slowly, because you'll see that one or two of those little pieces will have a dramatic effect on the depth that it falls into the liquid. It's sitting too proud again. So what I'm going to do is I'll be adding 3 little pieces at a time up until I get it calibrated. Okay, we're getting close to the weight now. So all I need to do now is just add a little bit more of the weight to get it down to 1, which is the density of water. Okay, so we're at a 1.01 So one more weight and we'll be right on the money. Okay, so with our weight added and it calibrated now, what we want is we want it to float on 1.000, which is the gravity of water. So what you're going to do is get it in your water, give it a little twist, allow it to drop down and come back up again, and with any bit of luck we should be right on the line. Okay, just to give it a quick test, what I've done is, this is the normal tap water. All I'm going to do is just put that to one side, and what I have here is some sugar. It's a tablespoon or so of sugar. The amount of sugar doesn't really matter, just to test if we have the hydrometer action going. So it's sugar dissolved in normal tap water. Get it into our flask. And now with any bit of luck, what will happen is if we drop this into the water, it should float higher than it did before. And currently it is sitting at a 1.030. So let's check it with our hydrometer, a calibrated hydrometer. And we're sitting at a 1.030. Okay, cool. So now we know that our hydrometer is calibrated. What you can go and do now is cut off these little tabs on the end if you want to. You can add some glue to the top if you want to. A little bit of glue. Remember, the more weight you add to it, the deeper it's going to float. So don't add too much. Literally take a little bit of silicone or something just to seal the top off if you really want to. But yeah, there we go. One calibrated and ready to use hydrometer. Now let's move over to the Alcometer. Okay, so now for the Alcometer. And like I said, the Alcometer stops where that one begins. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with water once again. But what we want to do now is calibrate it to the 0. So the 0 line, we want to calibrate it to that line there. Okay, it's sitting a bit too high still, so let's get a little bit more weight in it. Didn't cut enough weights, so let's cut some more. And remember, a little goes a long way. Once you hit that point where it becomes reaches that buoyancy level, that little bit of weight will make a drastic difference in how it floats. So don't add too much too fast, like I most probably just did. Feel it? Okay. So that currently is sitting at 70% alcohol for water. So the bottom is a bit too heavy. One more. Small little piece. And it's right on the money. Let's get a close-up. Okay, so like I said, all we want is we want it to calibrate and line up with the 0 mark right there. Okay, now to quickly test it, we saw it read 0. Next up, let's see if it measures percentage of alcohol. Over here I've got a little bit of something. Some of my Mkumbuti whiskey. Let's get a little bit in there. Take an Alcometer. This should float on between 40 and 50%. So we're currently sitting at 45% ABV. Let's take our newly made Alcometer, get it in there and float it, and it is sitting at 45% ABV. Okay, so I'll say it again, these will help you in a pinch. It is not the ideal thing to use. If you have access to these, which I know is quite difficult to get in South Africa, these will help you out in a pinch. If you want the scales, please just hit a email. My email address will be down in the description or on the screen right now. Remember to pop me an email and I will send you the PDF version that you just need to print on A4. And I'll give you some measurements just to make sure that you printed it correctly. And yeah, there you go. Alcometer and hydrometer, quite easy and as accurate as I could get them with store-bought materials. They're not 100%, but they'll do. As always, guys, remember to subscribe, like, and hit a comment down below. Have an awesome, lekker day.